Hi everybody, my name is Jiang, and today I'll be baking some sugar cookies decorated to look like Huskies. So to start with our cookie dough, we're going to add some all-purpose flour to a mixing bowl and then add in some baking powder and salt and whisk the dry ingredients together. Then gather your wet ingredients, and we're going to start out with some butter in the mixer. Make sure it's at room temperature, and we're just going to beat that softened butter until it's nice and creamy. Then add in some sugar and then cream those two together until they're incorporated, and add in a room temperature egg into that mixture. Then we're going to add in the extracts for some flavor and beat them until they're completely combined. Make sure you scrape down the bowl as needed. I'm using a scraper paddle so I don't have to. And then we're going to add in the dry ingredients in 3 additions. So once you're done mixing, use your spatula to scrape down the mixer paddle to make sure that all of the cookie dough is off of that. And then use your spatula to scrape down the bowl as well to make sure that all of the dry ingredients are fully incorporated with the wet ingredients from earlier. Now we're going to flour the work surface, and I'm going to turn out the cookie dough onto a silicone mat. Using parchment paper also works, and I've already divided the dough into 2 halves. I'm going to flour the top of the dough really fast and then chill it in the refrigerator while I work on the other half. So I'm rolling the dough to 1/4 inch thickness, and at this point it's also good to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So now I'm using a knife to cut out some shapes from the cookie dough. You can use a knife or a cookie cutter. Just be careful that when you're using a knife, you need to pat down the dough and make sure that there aren't any frayed edges, or else those will burn in the oven. Here I'm cutting out the shape of a husky with a knife, and at the top left corner I have a reference photo to guide myself because I was cutting it freehand and didn't really want to mess it up. So once you're finished with that, remove the excess dough from these sides, and you're going to bake these for 11 to 12 minutes until they're lightly browned. So now let's get started on the royal icing. In a stand mixer fitted with a whisk attachment, add in some powdered sugar and meringue powder and water as you see fit until you get to the consistency as pictured. And now we're moving on to my favorite part, which is decorating. So I'm starting by adding a small round tip and a coupler to a piping bag. Neither of those are necessary, but I find that it helps with the control of the icing a little bit. Then I'm placing the piping bag in a mug for stabilization and separating some royal icing to be white and some of it to be purple, because the logo that I was looking at was purple and white. Then I'm going to scoop some white royal icing into a piping bag and then dye the other part to be purple to match UW's colors. Once you've finished dyeing it, you can start adding it into the piping bag as well. Now I'm using a toothpick to plan out the design that I want to draw on the cookie, and you can see it on the left hand side of the screen. And now I'm using a piping bag to pipe the purple icing onto the cookie. In total, this took around 17 minutes to complete, so I sped it up a lot for the purpose of this video. Now I'm using a toothpick to smooth and spread the icing so that it can get into all the fine details. One thing to note about royal icing is that it does tend to dry pretty quickly, so you can't take too much time on each section. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding in the white icing with the piping bag and using the toothpick to smooth it out, and I'm also adding in some more purple details as I see fit. And once I was happy with the purple border, I started adding the white icing to the head portion of the cookie, and I used the toothpick again to spread it out to fill in all the gaps. So before the purple area is completely set, I use the white royal icing to add on any final details for the fur. So I added on any final details with purple as well, including the eye, but unfortunately I didn't get a video for that. So as I mentioned before, this entire cookie took 17 minutes, but I was pretty happy with the result at the end. Thanks everybody for watching, and stay tuned to the end for some bloopers.
It's out of focus dancing.
Is it recording?
Yeah.